I did not want to be on Earth anymore. I was going to bed thinking I wasn't going to wake up the next day.
I'm breaking up with you. I am so scared. I saw some red flags and I just need to get out of here.
My life is horrible.
Welcome to the Rose Within podcast. Here we're going to talk a little bit about our lives and connect with people with our stories and help other people find hope and what they can connect to, and realizing that even when you're in the hardest of times, that things can be okay and that you can get to a place where everything works out and everything's okay. So just remember that you're not alone and that everybody goes through something within their lives. And we're here to talk about it and connect with you. So we're just going to have a little conversation. We're going to have some fun times. We're going to have some laughs. There might be some cries. But all in all, our purpose is to help others transform into the best version of themselves and make them realize that it is possible for you as well. So thank you for being here, and we're excited to be here with you.
Yay! So excited.
Yes.
I probably should have brought tissues in here. I didn't even think of that. We'll have to remember for next time.
Maybe episode
if you see
one.
me like dabbing my eyes in my very tight, inconvenient shirt, then
I think episode 1 maybe will be okay, but you just never know.
You never know with me, especially.
The
waterworks are random.
And that's okay. We're here for it, and we're going to allow it in. We're going to process those feelings and show everybody that that's okay.
Sometimes a good cry just feels good.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be able to work through those feelings and recognize what you're feeling, where it's coming from, and then how to navigate it.
Yep.
Because that's half the battle, right?
That's a big part of the battle.
Yeah,
for sure.
It is. So this is my great friend, Danielle. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell me about who you are, some of the things that you're excited about with this podcast, maybe something you're looking forward to, and yeah, go from there.
So as she said, my name's Danielle. We've been friends since high school. We met through a mutual friend, and we've always kind of hit it off, especially playing with, I don't know if anyone knows the card game Cuts, but we're very good partners at that game.
Definitely.
We've always been kind of connected on a deeper level somehow. So I'm very excited when Kita started her journey. She's, hearing what she's gone through, seeing what she's gone through, seeing where she is now. Being very proud of her for getting through that and handling it the way she did really inspired me. And I've had obviously my own struggles, as anyone does in life, and been through a lot. And I was kind of sick of just always being down about it and feeling why me, poor me all the time. And I wanted to have a better life. So I decided to pull myself up by the bootstraps and figure it out. So that's why I'm here. And I'm sure you guys will learn a little bit more about my history as we go into this. So I'll let Kita take it back over, I guess.
Yeah, that was a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing that and being vulnerable with everybody. And it leads me right into the next point too, of like, sometimes things happen and, we have to recognize it as like, okay, this isn't happening to me. This is happening for me. And what lesson can be taken from these opportunities and in this situation, instead of just feeling like I'm down, I can't get back up. And it's okay to ask for help, right? Yep. It's just a matter of finding out the ways of how can I work through this? What in this is going to be in my best interest? What can I learn from this?
Yeah.
And getting really curious about those feelings.
And I think for me too, a big part of my journey was I was surrounded by people that were saying, poor you, poor you. I've had therapists tell me, wow, you've gone through more than most people will ever go through in their lifetime. And so hearing that on one hand is validating, but on the other hand, it really just plays into the poor me. I'm like, my life is so miserable and so hard. I have a right to be upset. I have a right to be cranky and miserable and anxious, and just using that to validate who I was at the time, instead of saying, I did go through a lot. I should be proud that I went through that and came out on the other side. And you know what? I'm going to use it to make myself better. So I'm a firm believer in like surrounding yourself in positivity, surrounding yourself with people who are going to support you in your growth and not just baby you and poor me, poor me, poor me. Because for a while, I had a therapist, my first therapist that I ever went to. We're getting deep. First question.
Let's go for it.
The first therapist I ever went to, she had me talk about my life, talk about my childhood, talk about my family members. And the whole time she was like, that must have been so hard for you. No wonder you're so anxious. No wonder you're so sad. No wonder you're so depressed. You really have a rough life. And having a professional tell you that made me feel like, oh my gosh, wow, my life is horrible. And it just sunk me deeper into that hole instead of her saying, that must have been really hard for you. Let's figure out how to get you past that instead of poor you, poor you, poor you. Okay, goodbye. See you next session. That was, I think I went to 2 sessions with her and I was like, this is not, I feel worse coming out of these than I did going in. So, um, what we're doing here definitely leaves me like whenever I have a conversation with you, I leave the conversation better than like literally any therapy session I've ever had because it leads to positivity. And I'm so encouraged to do better and better myself.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing. That was beautiful. And you're right. It's absolutely true. First off, let's take a minute to acknowledge the fact that you recognize that there was somebody that was validating almost too much, and you were saying, oh, wait a second, I don't think this is healthy for me. And you recognize that that wasn't a good fit for you and you stepped away from that. And I think that's what some of the key is surrounding yourself with people who are going to uplift you. It's easy to find somebody that's going to agree with you. And I think naturally the brain is going to try and find ways to be like, hey, this is comfortable, this is normal, you should stay here. But in reality, it's better if we can step away from that and say, no, no, no. This might be a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to be able to learn something more and get something more from it if I can push through the discomfort and get on the other side of this versus I just want to stay comfortable and it feels safe here because reality, it's not really safe. It's not really safe there. Your brain just wants to keep you comfortable and it's trying to keep you safe, but it's not really safe. So I think that's beautiful that you were able to navigate that and recognize that within you. And I love that you find growth and reasons to uplift yourself and do better in the conversations that we have. And that's my whole purpose. That's the purpose of this whole podcast. And I think both of us are going to be able to do that for people as well. And saying, here's how you can navigate it. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to stay in those negative places. You can grow and you can learn. And let's uplift each other. Let's find the positives in every day. Let's find the good things of this, what feels like a very difficult situation. Because there's always something. It's just a matter of perspective. And when you start to tell your brain, no, there's something good that we can see, it's going to start searching for those good things. But if you say, oh, there's negative things and this always goes bad, then your brain's going to be searching for the negative things.
And if you have the people validating all of the negative things as opposed to all the positive things, like I feel like when you go to therapy, and I've been in therapy for years, I am a strong believer in therapy. I am also a strong believer in find the right therapist. But when you're in therapy, like in my first therapist, she was validating the negative aspects of my life. There was not what good things happened to you, whatever. So I feel like as human beings, we're very programmed to react more to negative things. Somebody makes a negative comment about you. Oh, I hate your outfit today. Oh, I hate that shirt or whatever. It's going to stick with you. They say one negative comment sticks with you more than like, what is it, 10 compliments, right? That's how our brains are programmed. So it is a constant battle to try to stay on the positive, and it's hard. It's a fight, and over time it will get easier, and I've found that it's starting to get easier for me, but it's easy to kind of like drift back. But if you catch yourself, you can then be like, okay, I'm starting to slip back. I'm realizing that I need to like get back on track with being positive so I can reprogram my brain. I think I've told you this before. Your brain forms pathways. So it's going to travel the road that it's used to traveling. So if your brain is traveling the negative pathway over and over and over again, you're going to have to cut down some trees and rebuild a road in a different route to form a positive pathway. And then the weeds will grow over that old one and it'll get used to that new one. So I heard that visual, not the same type of thing, but that's how I imagine it with hearing the science behind these pathways that your brain creates. And I think I've told you before, like similar thing with like pain, like your brain can create pain pathways. Your brain is looking to make pathways and it sticks to its favorite ones. So make it its least favorite.
Right.
Make it uninhabitable.
Yeah, it's just like when you say that, I'm thinking of a raindrop, right? We picture a
Yep.
raindrop going down a window, and each raindrop after that is going to follow that same dripping pattern. And it's the same thing, just like you said, you're rewiring those neural pathways, and it's a
Yep.
beautiful sign. Like you can rewire those neural pathways. It is possible.
Put some Rain-X on that windshield.
Yeah, that's right. Put the Rain-X on there. It's like we're
No.
gonna create a whole new path. We're not even allowing that old path to intermingle at all.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing.
I like
I
it.
love that. And back to the therapist that you were talking about as well. I want to touch on the fact that you said it is important to find somebody. Think about it. Like you can't just go out there and pick a best friend. Like, oh, you're gonna be my best friend, and then it's just magically you're
No,
all
yeah.
no.
Same thing with love.
Same thing with love.
Yep.
You can't just go out there and pick a soulmate and hope for the best.
He's cute or they're cute,
Yeah.
let me,
Right.
we're gonna get married. Like,
Right.
that's not always how it works.
No, most of the time it doesn't work that
No.
way. So it's the same with a therapist. So don't be afraid to try therapy. I mean, if I have a hard time believing it wouldn't work for somebody, but it's possible that it doesn't work for somebody. I think everybody has different ways that they find comfortable for them. But I think it's just a matter of being open to it.
Yeah.
So, but it's also a matter of finding the right therapist. It absolutely is, because again, you can't just go out there and handpick it. So it's okay to try a couple things. It's like when you're getting ready for your wedding, you have a couple different hairstyles you might try out, or you have a couple different makeup artists that you trial before your wedding day. You're not just going to go, okay, this is it, and then just be stuck, or you can, but you're going to be stuck with the results that you might not be happy with.
Yep.
And you're better off pushing through the discomfort of making somebody else happy and choosing yourself and saying, you know what, this isn't a good fit for me, and I'm not responsible for their feelings of whatever comes out of it. So I did the same thing where I tried a therapist. I was not getting a good feeling. My body had a way of telling me before my brain, as always, until you start to balance the two. But that definitely was the case for me. And I said, you know what, I got to step away from this one. And I took more time to really try to search and say, you know what, where am I feeling called to? Like I found somebody, I read upon their information, and I just felt like, I just got this feeling inside of me. You think about a time when everything was good, when you made a decision that felt good, and you recognize how your body feels when you're making a good decision, and you recognize how your body feels when it was a bad decision. Pay attention to those details, because those are the things that are really important. I've actually, we can lead right into the fact that I've friendships, there's been times in my life when I recognized that my body was saying something to me before my brain was catching up. Relationships, friendships, all of that.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, I recognized that there was a pattern, and patterns are something that definitely pay attention to, especially when it's a pattern you don't like. Pay attention to it and work through it. Say, why is this keep coming up, and how can I work on it? Where is this coming from? And so for me, I recognized that anytime I got a massive dopamine rush and a new friendship, like just like, those friendships sometimes when you just dive all in head first, and you're like, oh my God, it's like we've been friends for ages. And it's like, I just met you. Not to say that they might all end the same way, but for me, my experience was that when I had a friendship that was like that, it ended up not being the best in the long run. And the reason,
I totally agree with that. I had the same thing. Yep.
Yeah. Same with any relationship, in a male relationship that I've been in as well. Like it was noticeable that when I had a dopamine rush, the reason is because I would dive all in and I would ignore all the red flags. And I would say, oh, this is so exciting and this is super fun. And it's like getting a hit of rush sugar, it's just like, woo, and then you crash. So over time, even though initially it felt really fun and exciting, when those feelings start to wear off and you step back and you just observe, you go, how did I not recognize some of these signs in these people before? So that to me, it kept showing up, and I stopped one day and I said, wait a second, I'm recognizing a pattern with all the people and the friendships that I no longer are connected with because there were some major red flags that came up. I recognized the feelings I had in the beginning were that massive dopamine rush, that massive jump all in, ignore all the red flags and just go for the green ones that you like. It's Very
So
similar
that
to that.
dopamine rush kind of is your own red flag to like,
Yes.
wait a minute, I'm getting that feeling again where I'm going a little cuckoo bananas about this person.
Yes.
So let's slow down a little and step back and see what the reality of the situation is. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So you can ask yourself, like, where in your life are you recognizing that there might be a pattern that ended up in a result you didn't like?
Yeah.
So, and there's good patterns too. You can say, okay, all the relationships I had that are comfortable and feel good for me are all relationships where I actually, things went really slow in the beginning and things were calm and my heart wasn't like, ooh, this person's super exciting. It was more just like, oh, okay. And then over time, like you got to trust and learn that that person was safe for you.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with learning how to feel safe. And when you're used to feeling unsafe, you start to recognize and pay attention more to the times that you feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the times when you can go, oh, okay, so that's what this feels like, and that's what this feels like.
Yep, totally.
And then you can go from there. Yeah. Do you have any experiences like that yourself?
Oh, yeah. I had a friend in college that we found out. So we were roommates, actually. I moved in first day of college and found out she lived like the next town over from me, and I'd never met her in my life. And we actually had a mutual friend who was one of my boyfriend at the time's close friends. And I knew that girl and she knew that girl, and we're like, wait a minute, this is crazy. You live right next door, basically. We have similar friends. How have we never met? And we went through this little phase where we were obsessed with each other in the beginning. And then it kind of quickly turned to like, oh gosh, she's bringing guys every night. Like it was a very small room. Like she first week in college, she got drunk and had to go to the hospital with alcohol poison. Like drama, like so much drama. And I still was like, oh, it's okay, it's fine, we're close. Like we're roommates, we have to be best friends. And we have mutual friends, and that girl's really cool, and so she must be really cool too. And she seemed kind of like popular at the time, and I don't know, like she made me feel special, but then there were times where I also kind of felt like she was pushing me out, like of her friend group. So I was getting mixed signals. But then after that first year, when we went back home for the summer, we hung out every single day. And we were like obsessed with each other, texting, calling with each other constantly, driving to each other's houses, like being out late at night, going to the 24-hour Walmart together. Like it was 24/7, it felt like. And then she went back to college before I did because she was doing sports, and she made a new group of friends. And I got in a really bad car accident that like end of the summer. It was like September. I think it was early September-ish. It was 13 years ago. I don't remember the exact date now, but and I was going through a lot with that. And so I had like my own depression, anxiety situation going on, and she had this new friend group, and then we ended up being roommates again, but we were in a quad. It was not a good dynamic. The other two girls that were in our room were her friends, and I wasn't friends with them initially, so they were already acquainted with each other. I very much felt like the odd man out, and they were leaving me out of things, and it just went downhill so fast. But I felt like the reason I got into it in the first place was because I was like, there are some connections here that I feel like this has to be, like we have to be best friends, like we have to be really close. And so I just went all in, and it ended up with my depression and anxiety going on and that friendship kind of going downhill. It was just not a good year for me. I ended up moving out and in with another girl who then I became really close with, and she was a really great person. But yeah, no, that's I've had experiences with that kind of jumping all in. Same thing, ex-boyfriend, like all in love, it's your first love, you kind of go head over heels, you get into it a little quickly, and you don't, especially early in high school, and you're like, we're both kind of figuring out who we are, and then you go to college and you kind of figure out who you are in opposite directions from each other, and you kind of should have seen the signs back in high school, that you were drifting apart and that you had different interests, but you're like, it's my first boyfriend. And then at the point where you're in it 7 years still, you're like, I don't want to leave now because it's been 7 years and we've been through so much in 7 years, but there was nothing left to the relationship. And I think at one point we had talked about this, kind of like rounding it back to therapy, with you need to find your right therapist, and it's going to take you some time usually to find your right therapist, but then it's also possible to outgrow your therapist. um you're nodding your head in agreement, and I think you know where I'm going with this, but you can like you can only learn so much from one single person. And that is one reason why I think this journey takes a team of people around you, not just a therapist or like friend or whatever. Like you need a team, like you need to surround yourself with these people because you're going to learn something different. I learn different things from you than I do from my therapist, right? And that's great. You get a variety of information, you get a variety of perspectives, and then your brain can put the puzzle pieces together. So don't be afraid to outgrow people. I've outgrown many friends in my life that felt like I would get together with them, and they were just weighing me down, and I'd have anxiety before they came over, and I'd have like stress when they left. Like my battery would drain so much faster with certain people than others, and I was recognizing that. So I don't know. What do you want to talk more about about that experience?
Absolutely. No, you brought up two very good points that I'm recognizing from just listening to all of that as well. One is definitely that when you have a situation come up like that, it's so easy for your egoic mind to try to justify, right? So in every situation you were talking about, you discussed that you were like, well, but there's this. Oh, but we've been together for so long.
Make excuses for everything.
We have connections. So it's so easy for our minds to try and trick us into what feels safe once again, and convincing us that like there's other things. You're going to try to constantly justify the reasons to not leave. But just remember that it is just your brain trying to keep you in what's familiar and what's comfortable. But when you step outside of the discomfort, when you break up with that boyfriend, when you end that relationship that didn't feel safe for you, look how much more peace you find. So when you push through the discomfort and the worry and the fears, you come out on top. You get on the other side of it and you realize there's so much more to live and so much more to experience. And just like you had mentioned, you outgrow people. That was such a beautiful testament, like such a beautiful statement, because it's so true. It's just like a lizard, right? We have a bearded dragon, so I can speak to this. They say that you can only grow as big as the cage that you're in. So at some point, you can outgrow that cage and you have to be able to expand and experience. But you can't do that if you keep yourself in the same small box, the same small cage. So it's just like lizards, we all need to grow and expand. And when we've outgrown our box, it's okay to say, you know what? I'm moving on and getting bigger and expanding. And this person might not be ready to go on that journey with me. And maybe at another time in their life, they will be able to match that. But in this time, I'm outgrowing them and I need to move on with my life. And I think that's true for therapists. I think it's true for friendships, for, intimate relationships, for anywhere in your life. And some people can grow with you too. It's okay to put boundaries up. And when you put boundaries up, a lot of times you're going to see if that person is capable of staying in your life with those boundaries. And if not, that's okay. They're just telling you that's okay.
That's okay.
They're just telling you that they aren't ready to take that journey with you.
Yeah.
They're not ready to move on to that next phase with you. But if they can respect your boundaries, and it says a lot about them, and it says, you know what, I'm here. I'm going to love you. I'm going to support you, even if I don't agree with you. Because you don't have to like the boundaries. You just need to respect them. And the same goes both ways.
Yep.
I think
you're allowed to set whatever boundaries you need to. It's your life.
Yeah.
And I think people are afraid to realize that. They're more afraid that someone's going to judge them for their boundary or disrespect them for their boundary. But like, if they're going to be like that, they're not your person.
Right. And setting boundaries is the best way to show someone how to treat you. Like, I will put up a boundary to say, this is how you're going to treat me. And if you're not going to treat me that way, then there's the door. Because I I don't want to be disrespected. I have a set of rules that I'm like, this is what I need, this is what I want. And the people that love and respect you will admire that. And I will say, if you're questioning a relationship, just put up a boundary because it's going to say a
Test
lot.
it. Like
Yeah.
use that as a test too. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're or even if things are seeming too perfect, like throw a boundary in there. Like
Yes.
start
Right.
start building your wall up of your boundaries. Not like a wall against the other person, but like start building your boundary wall, like setting limits for people so that they know where they have to stop.
Right. And a good way to do that too is if you can write out on a piece of paper, like, if I'm in the best version of myself and I have the most supportive, loving, kind person next to me, what would that person look like? What would the boundaries look like that I need to set for myself? What am I willing to accept? What am I willing to not accept? Because those are going to be the things that are going to teach you what you want to put up for boundaries. And then they're going to tell you, like, okay, this person is or is not respecting those things. And it's just like what you said, like putting, when we were talking about putting up a test, like there's people you can put up this test for. And it's just like, if you don't know how they respond in chaos, you don't know how they respond in difficult situations.
Yep.
And pay attention.
Or emergency situations. I learned that one.
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes, you might not be presented with an emergency situation or something really stressful and difficult that's going to be able to expose those behaviors that you might need more time to see in somebody else. But if you can put up a boundary, and even in the slightest way, just saying no to something that they want you to say yes to, like, oh, give me a kiss. And you're like, you know what? Not right now. I'm not feeling like it.
Yeah.
Which seems a little bit like, ooh, but I'm telling you, you do it. And the person that loves and respects you is going to say, okay, that's okay with me. I can say that in my own relationship that I'm in now. Like I have experienced that. I was so afraid and I put up walls based on the past experiences I had. I was so afraid that he was going to be the next person to hurt me. And so I was like, nope, I'm breaking up with you. I am so scared. And the amount of respect that he showed me and was like, that was really difficult. Like we had a really strong connection. And I just went and was like, no, no, no. And he's like, well, what happened? And even though he really wanted to know and it hurt him not knowing, he put out one message and was like, can you just explain to me if like what happened and what changed your mind? And I said, nope, I saw some red flags and I just need to get out of here. I need a break. And he respected it. He never asked me again. He never pushed it. He kept his distance. Even when we were close in person, like he kept his distance and he kept to himself. And I was like, oh my goodness, that was all I needed to see. I recognized, wait a second, he's not coming after me and pushing past my boundaries and telling me that it's not okay and that I need to do what he wants me to do. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I really learned that people can respect your boundaries and those are the people that are worth sticking around for and waiting and just going, okay, I'm going to observe now and I'm going to make sure that I'm not jumping in, but that I'm actually like giving it a chance and seeing something that does not feel comfortable and safe for me.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so great. And I will say, when you're in a long relationship, as we both were, that didn't necessarily turn out, it really ingrains certain behaviors in your head. And when you're in a new relationship after the fact, then you're like, do I see that person doing that? Like you're kind of almost inventing it in your head. Because I went through the same thing with my now husband. Like when I broke up with my ex, he was like leaving me to go hang out with his friends. Like we were living together at the time. And he's like, I'm going to go on a 3-month road trip with my best friend. Okay, cool. All right. You don't want me to go like with you? Okay. So then like he'd go like ice climbing on the weekends with his friends and it was a mix, it was co-ed. And I'm like, do you want to invite me? Or like, no. And he'd like, I just didn't think you'd have the money to go. That's why I didn't invite you. Like he always had like an excuse as to why, but I was feeling more and more like he didn't want me to go. So then when my husband and I started dating, he'd be like, oh, I can't get together today. And I'd be like, why? Does he not like me? Am I annoying him? Like, and I would read into things and your brain creates the scenario. And it's really hard to break that in your brain. But it's really great that you had to have that moment. And I feel like that was an important moment for your relationship. It's not something that I think in the moment, like, and even just after, you were like, that was such a good idea that I did that. Maybe you're like, oh crap, I should, everything was fine. Why did I go and do that? But then looking back at it now, I'm sure you're like, man, that was actually a really beneficial thing. I'm glad that I did that because it really helped me reprogram my brain and see the reality of the situation. So it sometimes it takes something a little bit traumatizing to kick your brain into gear and switch it to a completely different train of thought. But yeah, no, I think we all go through situations like that where we're so programmed one way, we're kind of making up the situation somewhere else.
Absolutely. And that's exactly it. It's training your brain to recognize what safety looks like and then saying, wait a second, I do like this. I do want more of this. So I'm going to make sure that I pay attention to those moments more often and then ignore the times when my brain wants to try to tell me it's safe and it's not.
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree and resonate with a lot of those things.
And I know we've talked before about specifically about like my fears around health stuff. When I was 10 years old, I lost my grandfather to cancer. And it was a very traumatizing experience for me. I'd never seen anyone die. Like, I've never seen anyone near death. I've never had anyone close to me die. I didn't know what cancer was. I remember my dad um, told me that my Pepe had cancer and that he was going to die. And on the car ride home, I was crying about it. But then I remember asking him, is it contagious? Because I had kissed him goodbye, after we left from seeing him. And I was so worried about it. And then for years, I was just any little weird thing. And that's kind of the time, you're 10 years old. From that time, you're kind of starting to change. You're going through hormonal body changes, things like that. And so any little change that I had, I was like, it's cancer. I'm going to die. But I was too afraid to talk to anyone about it. So for years, my brain was programmed anything that seemed off was cancer. And we've talked about this when I would have my little spirals because I still struggle with it, especially with my like health episode that started 2 years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a lump in my breast. It has to be cancer. And my brain would tell me that it's cancer, but it's your brain trying to protect you. And you were very good at reminding me of that and reminding me, um, you know, thank your brain for trying to protect you, but say, yeah, I don't need that right now. And you were very good at always bringing me back to that and helping me get grounded again and coming down from that panic.
And now, how do you feel today about those thoughts that come up? It sounds like you have a much better handle on
Yeah,
it. Like you need
they
to.
still come up. I still get worried about it, but not to the magnitude that I had been. I was on medications and it was for pain, but it was also for my anxiety and depression. And I stopped taking them cold turkey, which don't do that. Don't recommend doing that. It was not a good idea. But I didn't go back on them, and I go through waves where I'm not great, but I'm not hitting the lows like I was before. I was going to bed thinking I wasn't going to wake up the next day. Things got so bad. And now I'm like, I've been through, worse things. Like, I can do this. Like, if I can make it through that thing, I can make it through this thing. It's fine. Like, I'll be fine. The doctors checked me and I don't need to worry about it anymore. I'll just let the doctors check. And if they tell me to be worried, then I'll be worried. And I did have a therapist who I'm not seeing anymore because I outgrew. But I loved her. She was very nice. She did tell me, what if it did happen? Play it out. Like, if you did, you'd figure it out because you go to the doctor enough. I have had many specialist appointments, seen every specialist you can think of, basically. But, you know, they've all checked you, but, you're very vigilant. If they would find it early, then what would you do? You'd just make an appointment, they'd go treat you, and you're fine. You move on. And she was right. Um, so between that and then what you were saying, like, your brain just, it's thinking the worst because it's preparing you, it's trying to protect you from being surprised or having that happen to you. And you can prepare for if it were to happen, having that reminder, okay, brain, stop stop freaking me out. Like everything's fine. Sometimes your brain needs reminders. You would think it's your brain. Your brain should know everything. It controls your body. Your heart beats without you telling it to because your brain tells it to. Like you would think that it would know better, but it doesn't.
That is such a beautiful analogy though, because it's true. Your heart beats. We trust it to beat. We don't question it.
Yeah.
It's just like your brain. Like, so, but with your brain and like what you were just saying, like it's important to question it, but go deeper. Like you said, your brain wants to say, I have cancer. Oh my gosh, I'm going to die. But the minute you push past that and say, well, wait a second, let's see the whole thing through. You want to just go, oh my gosh, this will be terrible. But if you can say to yourself, well, okay, but what if it is, and how will I handle it?
Yeah.
And then this is a very specific technique that I've heard of as well that you can do, and I've tried it for myself. I've played out the whole scenario in the worst case scenario because you keep wanting to say, oh my gosh, the fear of the worst case, worst case. Well, okay, so let's let the worst case happen in our minds and say, okay, what would I do if the worst case scenario happened? How will I prepare? How will I work through those feelings? And then think of times when you have worked through something really difficult and you've proven to yourself you can work through difficult things. It's not like this is the first difficult thing you've ever dealt with.
Yeah.
So you have to remind yourself that you've done this before. It may have looked a little bit different, but you've done it before and you can do it again. And so I think that's a huge moment to take in, and absolutely a great technique of following it through, saying, okay. And then you'd say, all right, well, I'd figure it out and I'd be okay. Or I would get everything in the order. And then you say, and then what if everything works out? What if that's not the worst case scenario? What if everything does go well for me and everything works out? Then what a beautiful life that would be, right?
I have this quote. You know what I'm gonna say?
Yes, and say it.
I say it to you all the time. But I had a friend text me, or no, I called her one day when I was having one of my episodes of panic. And she said, I have a quote. It's going to sound a little harsh, but I think you'll appreciate it. She said, you complain an awful lot for someone who's figured it out and been okay every time. And that sticks with me because it's so true.
Yes.
I mean, we've made it. I'm almost 35 years old. So, I mean, I've made it 35 years without anything killing me or like being, too serious. I could do another 35 years at least of the same.
And you think about all the difficulties that you have dealt with in those 35 years, and each time you made it through and you became an even stronger version of yourself.
Yeah, both of us.
Right. Absolutely. Really. Absolutely. I'm standing here today, sitting technically, because of the difficulties that we've gone through. Like, I used to be a registered nurse. So I can speak to, don't go cold turkey on the medication.
No. Bad decision.
Yes.
If you want restless leg syndrome for months,
yes, no.
Severe anxiety and like weird things happening to your body, don't go cold turkey.
No. But yeah, I mean, going from registered nurse and to this whole entrepreneurship and recognizing that there's more to this life that I want to have, and I outgrew that box. My nursing hat was a box that I was in, and I decided there's more that I want to dig into. I want to help people in an even bigger way. I want to help people grow and be the best versions of themselves, because I can tell you in the nursing office, 85% of the patients that I dealt with were all mental health related.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second, there's something here. But I realized and recognized that the part of that job that I love so much was being able to have a connection with them, for them to feel like they had a safe space to come to and connect
system,
with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had something in their day that felt positive when they may not have something positive to go home to.
Right.
Or at least they're not viewing it that way, right? Because I'll be like, just look for the positive signs. But that was the part that I recognized within me, that I was like, wait a second, I do like nursing, but the part of nursing that I liked wasn't taking blood pressures. It wasn't, taking temperatures. And don't get me wrong, we need that and it's great. I enjoyed it while it lasted, but I outgrew that box. And I said, you know what? I need to do something bigger and help people in a more bigger way.
Helping people in a different avenue.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right. And I was like, we need to dig deeper. Like, let's get into the feelings. I feel
like there are so many complaints in the world right now about the lack of mental health care that we have, specifically in the United States. But I mean, for a while now, I've kind of found resources, but for a while, I was having trouble finding anybody that could take me, anybody that was taking patience to just talk to me and, help me get through my emotions. Like, people need that. And the other thing is, and I'm glad we're gearing in this direction more. Our generation, millennial, I feel like is really changing things because we've both talked about how family members of ours kind of are supportive of us doing therapy, but when suggested to them, they're like, yeah, no, that's not my thing. And we can both see, I really would benefit that person. Like they would, be able to let go of so many of their struggles if they just accepted the help and admitted it. But back during that time, there was like a stigma around it. And now I'm glad that there's a shift happening and that's changing and is more accepted. And with that, though, there's not as much care available. And I'm really glad that you're helping and you're not just doing it like you're doing it at a different avenue than like a therapist. While you have the techniques from your experiences in therapy, you're also taking it more spiritual, more like positivity, more brain retraining in a different way than I have personally experienced in therapy, which is really great because you've been through therapy, you know the techniques, but you can tie them in and use them in a different way that I know, like we're saying, like, try out your therapist. You've tried out therapists. I've tried out therapists. You know the different techniques. You also know complete other techniques that don't even relate to therapy and what they're trained to do. You can tie them together. You can meet with people. You can sit there and say, this is okay. I see what your personality type and your anxiety type or whatever is. Here are things that I've found in, all of my research, all of my experience that may apply to you. And you can really hone that in because you have so much more of a broad scope, I feel like.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying all that. That's
Yeah.
very kind of you. I love it. Positivity breeds positivity and lift it even higher. And that's so beautiful. I definitely appreciate that. And it's true. And it brings me to that other point too, that, you know, everybody has a gift inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has skills. And you know how often people look at me and go, wow, you're really brave for doing this, or oh, I could never do that. Oh girl, yes you can. You can do it.
Yeah.
And
you've corrected me on that before, which
will,
I'm appreciative of.
Yes. And I'm like, I want to inspire everybody because every single one of us, I don't care what color, what race, what ethnic background, what poverty background, like what your status is. I don't care because I really believe that everyone should be treated equally. And Agreed. I believe that we are all made from the same thing. We all have the same organs and the same part, well, slightly different parts, but no matter where you come from and what your background is, all of it. What matters to me is that there's something special inside of every single person. Yep. Absolutely, without a doubt. It's just a matter of discovering what's inside of you. What is your gift? What unique quality do you have above everyone else? Yeah. And it's not to say it's above, but you know what I'm saying? But each person holds a different quality. It's like no two fingerprints are the same. It's just like no two souls are the same. We all have something, even identical twins. There's still something unique about each person individually that they bring to the table. And it's just a matter of lifting each other up, finding what that skill is, and using it to the best of your ability. Like I love to empower people and tell them, like, no, you have something inside of you. It's just a matter of you being able and the willingness, being open to seeing it is a really big part of it.
And you have to think too, if your brain can get trained into thinking that way, what's to say it can't be trained out of thinking that way again? Yes. Your brain is a lot more malleable than people would expect.
Yes. Quantum physics is real.
Yes. It takes time, it takes work. But if you can get programmed a certain way, you can get reprogrammed.
Right. And yes, it might take work. But if somebody looked at you and said, hey, after 10 efforts of doing this one thing, you are going to be the best version of yourself, well then heck, you do it no problem. Yeah. But it's like, it's hard when people can't see the exact results or nothing's happening right in their minute. Well, it's just like losing weight, right? Like you can go to the gym and you can do this and you're going to be like, why isn't it happening? I want it to happen yesterday.
Yeah.
But some things take time. It's like the race with the tortoise and the hare. Like slow and steady wins the race. You know, it may not happen overnight, but it will be worth every single step of the way. It's just like I heard a saying once that said, if you knew that after 100 no's you were going to make $1 million,
Yeah.
think how excited you would be after every single no you got. Or if you got 100 no's and at the end of it you knew that there was going to be the biggest yes
I'd be
waiting
counting.
for you.
I'd be counting.
Right? You would be so excited.
All right, we're at 89. How many more?
You'd be like, yes, I got another no. I'm that much closer. You know?
Let me go get the rest real quick.
Right? Exactly. So the point is that everybody has something special inside of them. It's just a matter of being able to really believe it and then trust the process. Trust that it's going to work out, that it is going to be worth it, and then you are going to become the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just want everybody to say, like, come on, just do
it.
Just see it. Just feel it. It's happening. It's there. Like, I wish that everyone could see themselves the way I see them. And, you know, the same goes for ourselves. Like, you could look at other people a certain way and say, oh, I see so much potential in you and so much beauty.
Yeah, I've been there. I was there.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to come out of it. Like, I've had this talk with a close family member who was going through a really, really, really rough time. And I remember sitting there with him and being like, look, I was you. I did not want to be on earth anymore. I was in a really dark place for a long time and I never thought I'd get out of it. And I promise you, you will get out of it. One way or another, you will get out of it. And I was like, because it sucks to feel like this, doesn't it? So I know because it sucks this much to feel like this that you're going to try everything you can to not feel like that ever again.
Wow.
It's crazy to see. And I know, and it was like a full circle moment for me. Because while I was sitting there outside in the cold on the steps with him, I just kept thinking, I was him at one point and I'm not anymore.
Yes.
And it sucked. And it, you know, looking back, I was like, why did I have to go through that? Because now I need it for now. So I can sit here with him and talk him out of what he's thinking and help him through it and say, look, I was there. You're not going to be there forever. And so for me to have gone through that, and it was just the closing of that thought. Like, why did I need to go through this? Why? My whole life. And I also had that fear, like, am I going to go through that again? But then seeing that and seeing him come out of the other side of it too, it's just reassurance that we all go through stuff. And sometimes it does get really bad, but you can always get out of it no matter what it is.
Absolutely. And that's so beautiful. And the fact, like you said, you were able to help somebody else. And the biggest part of it, reflection.
Mm-hmm.
You took the time to reflect. You recognize, I am in a different place than I used to be.
Yeah.
And that right there will keep propelling you forward, because it's anytime something comes up, you can say, well, wait a second, let me think about where I used to be compared to where I am now. I mean, I have to do that all the time. I sit there and I say, well, actually, I wait a second, that pattern that I used to have isn't coming up anymore. How beautiful is that? Yeah. And you go, well, wait a second, the work I've been doing is actually working?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Like we were talking about keeping a journal, and I'm not super into journaling. I'm not a great writer, and I'm not disciplined enough to write every single day, especially since I don't enjoy it. Instead of journaling, something that I said that I would be more into would be voice noting, you know, like taking voice notes, because she and I will text voice notes. And you're literally the only person I ever voice note. I don't know, voice text, whatever you want to call it. But I'll go back in our conversation, or even as I'm saying these things and I hit send, I'll listen to my message and be like, wow, I'm like really smart sometimes. Or wow, wait, it like reinforces it. Because I personally, as a kid, I had trouble with reading. I would read a page 3 times over and not have paid attention to anything I was reading. Same thing with when I'm talking. Sometimes I'm talking and it just comes out. and I'm not really hearing what I'm saying. I know a lot of times will make sense, sometimes maybe not. But if I'm listening back to it, it reinforces it. You need multiple exposures to this sometimes for it to sink in and stick and for you to comprehend what's actually happening, what you're actually saying, what you've actually experienced and been through. And to be able to go back and listen to voice notes between us or voice notes that I've taken from weeks, months, whatever ago, to like, and then listening to one maybe I sent you yesterday, the difference in just how we're speaking, the difference in the realizations and the experiences that have happened and how we've handled them. It's nice to be able to look back, but also be able to hear the tone in my voice, the confidence change in my voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. I mean, I told you, like, it was within 3 weeks. I asked you about this podcast idea, and you're like, no, I don't know. I couldn't be on camera. Like, I just, and look at you now. And the minute I said it, like 2 or 3 weeks later, when we talked about it, you were like, yeah, I have all the stuff. Let's do it. It was
yeah.
like, wait, are you sure this is the same Danielle that I was talking to? Because
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, you were like, no, I can't even do the camera. Just goes to show you that with a little, even just 3 weeks time span,
Yep.
with the consistency of action and thought process and rewiring those neural pathways, you can create a whole nother version of yourself. And I got to point back on this. Does everybody hear that, right? So, like, she didn't like journaling, but she took the time to say, well, what does work for me and what would make me feel comfortable in a way that's still therapeutic for her. So she came up with a whole nother way of doing that, which is doing the voice memos to herself, which is also a really good technique that you can use. You can take the future version of yourself that you wish to become, and you can create a voice memo to yourself. Go in your voice memos. I mean, everybody's got a smartphone, right? Go in your voice memos, record that version of you talking to your now self, saying all of the things that you have and how proud you are, like saying how confident and whatever it is that you wish to be. If you have to be inspired by someone that you see and recognize and are inspired by, use them as an example. Say, okay, I love how they are. Maybe Denzel Washington. I love the guy. He's amazing. He got me through a lot of tough times. You can take him, for example, and say, you know what, I really like how confident he is and how, secure he is in himself and all of the things that you recognize that you're inspired by in someone else. Take those thoughts, turn them into a persona of what you want to be, and make a voice memo to yourself, your future self, to you now. And you listen to that every day. If you can't listen to it every day, at least a couple times a week, but you will see a massive difference because you start to believe it. You're rewiring those neural pathways to recognize that it can be true for you. And your brain starts to believe it and goes, oh, yeah, I am confident. I do feel good about myself. So it's a pretty amazing technique. So just be aware that if someone is recognizing or recommending a technique for you, yeah, maybe that's not the technique for you. Maybe that's not the self-regulating skill or technique that you want to use, but there could be a different variation of what they're saying.
How can you modify it?
Yeah. So I think it's so beautiful that you recognize that, okay, yes, I'm taking something that someone said and then I'm making it my own. I think that can be applied to anything. Yeah. You take something, you see it, okay, and now I'm going to make it my own version of what works for me.
Just think of it. Like, we're not all artists, we're not all mathematicians, we're all different. We have different interests. So,
and thank God.
We want to find a method that we enjoy because then we'll stick to it.
Yes. You know how often I hear from somebody that's very close to me that I love so much, but I often hear like, oh, why don't they just do this? Like, because it's something they wouldn't do or would do. Yeah. And they get upset that other people aren't acting that way. And the way I look at it is I say, well, thank God they don't think and act exactly like I do. And they don't do all the same things I do. Because of what kind of world would we live in? We would all be creating the same thing.
Yeah, clones. We wouldn't,
right. Like you have clothing, you have desks, you have all the things that are around us, cameras, phones, whatever. I might be really good at talking to people and making them feel good, but I can't build an iPhone. Okay, I'm not going to say can't, but it doesn't feel like my specialty. So it just goes to show you that there's all different ways that people think, that people act, that people react, that people do. And it's okay because every scenario, everyone around us is teaching us. We're teaching ourselves, we're growing with each other, and we're learning from each other. And we're all creating something different in this world collectively to come together. you know?
Yeah, I mean, if there was a world full of me's and you need brain surgery, sorry, you're in trouble.
Guess we're not getting brain surgery.
Nope.
But dang, we'll have a really nice conversation.
Right.
So all that to say, I think this is a really beautiful episode, and I want to kind of wrap it up and just be on the lookout for the next episode because we've got a lot more to talk about. And I hope that everyone found something in this episode that they could resonate with and relate to. And all together, we just want people to transform into the best version of themselves, become the best version of themselves, believe that you have it in you to grow, to learn, become the best version of yourself. And as always, you've got this.
Thank you for watching.
Yes, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, let us know how you feel. We are always here for it and excited to interact
Share
with
this
you.
video with someone who could use the information.
Yes, definitely share it.
All of the sharing.
Because the more people we can reach, the more lives we can change. So let's do this together.